Hey guys, welcome to Quick Mathematica's first ever crash course. Today we are going to be showing you some easy tricks and tips on how you can master basic algebra. So let's get started. Super quickly, a basic summary of what you guys have probably learned so far is adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing of numbers that you guys already know, values such as 0, 1, 2, 3, and etc. The only big change that's going to happen for this foundation of algebra is now you're going to be working with variables and integers. These values that which can be usually in the form of x, y, z, really any alphabetical letters or sometimes also Greek letters, you're going to be using to find out what values they are. So there are really just two main tricks that you need to know for mastering basic algebra. And guys, if you can figure these out, I promise you majority of the equations will come super easy to you. The first rule is that you have to make changes on both sides. Mathematical problems are very symmetrical. So what I mean by both sides is, in our example over here, we have x plus 3 equals 15. If I'm going to make any changes to the left side, I have to make sure that I make the exact same changes to the right side. I cannot change one without the other. And don't worry, I'm going to go a little bit more in depth on this later on to make sure that you understand it fully. Our second rule that you'll have to memorize is that addition is the opposite of subtraction and multiplication is the opposite of division. If you guys can memorize these simple rules, all of your basic algebra equations will come super easy to you. So what we're going to do for the rest of the video is basically show you some simple and challenging problems, and we'll use only these two rules to solve each and every single one of them. So let's get started with the first one that was already presented on our screen. And because this is our first time working on it, I'm also going to put up the rules on the side so that we can always reference to it while we're working on the problem. Okay, let's look at our equation. We have x plus 3 equals to 15. Remember, we're trying to figure out what this x is equal to. We don't know what it is. Now, we do know that x plus 3 is equal to 15, but what is x? The only thing that's really in our way here to figure that out is this plus 3. We want to get rid of this plus 3 so we can know only what x is equal to. Now remember, rule number 2, plus is the opposite of minus. So if we want to get rid of this plus 3, all we have to do is on the left side subtract by 3, because subtraction is the opposite of addition. And remember, to rule number 1, you have to make changes on both sides. So if I'm going to subtract 3 on the left side, I have to do the exact same thing on the right side. And from here, we simply solve. So we have x plus 3 minus 3. This plus 3 and minus 3 are going to cancel out. So all that we're left with on the left side is an x. Don't forget to bring down that equal sign, guys. And on the right side, all we have is 15 minus 3, and that's going to equal to 12. With these two basic tricks, we figured out that x is equal to 12. Now, let's move on to something a little bit more challenging. And again, I'll put up the rules on the side so we can reference to it. Now, if you guys have never seen something like 2x before, that basically means multiplication. Whenever you have a number before a variable, that basically means that you're going to be multiplying it. So this 2x is actually 2 multiplied by x. Just remember that because you will be seeing that more in your algebra courses. So our problem, for example 2, is 2x minus 3 equals 9. This 2x looks a little complicated. Let's go back to it later on. But first, let's get rid of this negative 3, because remember, we're trying to isolate our x. We want our x to be on its own. So if we have a minus 3 over here that we want to get rid of, well, plus is the opposite of minus. So if we want to get rid of this minus 3, all we have to do is add 3. Now remember, rule number 1 changes to both sides. So if we're going to add a 3 to the left, we have to add a 3 to the right. So let's start with the left side first. Negative 3 and positive 3 cancel each other out. So we're left with 2x. Don't forget to bring down that equal sign. 9 plus 3 is equal to 12. Okay, we're one step closer. Now we have 2 multiplied by x equals to 12. Rule number 2, multiplication is the opposite of division. So if we're going to multiply this by 2, then basically to get rid of it, we're going to have to divide it by 2. Back to rule number 1, we have to make changes on both sides. So if I'm going to divide my left side by 2, that means I have to divide my right side by 2. Now, this 2 and 2 on the left side cancel each other out, so I'm only left with an x on the left side equals to 12 divided by 2, which is 6, and that is our answer. Guys, if you can master these two basic problems, example 1, example 2, that means that you have basically figured out majority of the foundation for a simple algebraic problem. But just to make sure that you've mastered it completely, here are some extra problems that I'm going to quickly go over in the rest of our video. This is a perfect time to press the pause button and work it out on your own, and from here we're going to move on to actually solving them. All right, so here we go. Let's go to the answers. I have my rules on one side just because this is the first video and we might need it, but of course later on you will be able to memorize these super quickly and you won't need them on the side anymore. All right, x plus 9 equals to 17. I notice that there's a plus 9 over here, so I'm going to subtract a 9 because I did it to the left, gotta do it to the right, so 17 minus 9. Okay, let's go ahead and solve. Plus 9 and minus 9 cancel each other out, so all I'm left with on the left side is an x, equal sign, and then 17 minus 9, which is going to be 8, and that is our answer. Moving on to problem number 2, x minus 15, equals to 54. So since there's a minus 15, I'm going to have a plus 15 on both sides. Right over here. Minus 15 and plus 15 are going to cancel out, so then we're only left with x equals to 69, and that is our answer for number 2. Now I know that number 3 was a little bit more complicated, but if you guys can handle this, then you're really ready to move on to the next part of algebra. Okay, so let's solve this. Now 3x plus 4, there's a lot going on here. Let's worry about that 3x, that multiplication later on, because of course that plus 4 is a lot easier to get rid of. If we're going to have a plus 4 here, that means we have to have a minus 4 over here. Now again, rule number 1, you have to make changes to both sides. So if we have a minus 4 over here, I have to have a minus 4 on the right side. On the left side, the plus and minus cancel each other out, so I'm only left with 3x. Bringing down that equal sign, and then 28 minus 4 is going to equal to 24. Okay, we're getting one step closer. 3 is being multiplied by x, so how do I get rid of that 3? Well, multiplication is the opposite of division, so to get rid of that 3, I'm going to divide it by 3. I'm going to do that to both sides to make it equal, and then that 3 and 3 cancel out, so we're only left with x on the left side, bringing down the equal sign, and x is equal to 8. And guys, this finalizes our video for basic algebra problems part 1. If you missed any parts to it, if I went a little too quickly for you, just go back to the beginning of the video and just look at the steps one by one. Work these problems out on your own at your own pace. Math really is all about practice. The more you work on it, the easier it will get for you. And that concludes our first videos, and thank you for watching.